This is the Boston Bosses Podcast, the only show where artificial intelligence, emerging tech, and digital disruption meet real world business. Presented by technologist, author, and no-nonsense navigator of the future, John Binks. It's Tech Talk without the jargon. Now, let's deep dive.
Welcome to the Bots and Bosses podcast, presented by John Binks.
Hello.
This is episode 47.
It's great to be here.
And originally aired on August 2nd, 2026. So if you're hiring today the same way you hired back in 2022, you're already falling behind.
Oh, completely behind.
Welcome to this custom-tailored deep dive. Today, we have a really specific mission for you. We are tearing down this massive shift in organizational design based on a fascinating new leadership guide on building AI-ready teams.
Right, because for years now, the exhausting debate has always just been, which jobs will AI replace?
Yes, exactly. But we are moving completely past that today. The true question for leaders, managers, and frankly, anyone working in the modern economy is, how do we completely rebuild our hiring criteria now that AI is basically sitting in the interview room with us?
Yeah, because that is the operational reality we are facing right now. We aren't talking about some distant, abstract future where robots take over a factory floor. We are talking about the reality of your inbox, your strategy meetings, and your daily workflow this very morning.
It's happening today.
Exactly. And the core premise of our source material is that AI is not just another productivity tool you can simply, staple onto your existing routines.
Mm-hmm.
It fundamentally rewrites organizational design.
Wow.
Yeah. It changes how work is divided, how fast employees can learn, and crucially, what an organization should actually expect from a new hire.
And that's exactly why this deep dive is for you, the listener. Whether you are a department manager trying to build out a new team, or, you're the professional trying to navigate this job market and figure out how to position yourself.
Which is incredibly tough right now.
It really is. So we are going to reveal how the fundamental expectations of work are changing right beneath our feet. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Because to me, this feels like an absolute paradigm shift. I mean, the best candidate is no longer the person who has done one narrow task repetitively for a decade. We are looking at a total redefinition of what the source material calls the unit of work.
Yeah, and to understand how to hire differently, we first have to understand how the work itself has transformed. Traditionally, the unit of work was defined by narrow, highly isolated activities.
Right.
Let's say a company had a project to launch. The standard operating procedure was to hire one person to research the market.
Sure.
Then they'd hire another person to take that research and prepare the reports. A third person would manage the workflow, and maybe, a fourth would analyze the results.
So the entire hiring model was built around those highly defined activities.
Exactly.
It's basically the industrial assembly line model, right? But applied to knowledge work. You turn the physical bolt, I paint the physical door. Except here, it's you build the spreadsheet, I write the memo.
That's a perfect way to visualize it. But AI completely shatters that assembly line. Today, many of those distinct activities can be combined and executed by a single capable employee.
Just one person.
Just one. Utilizing a suite of AI tools and business systems, one person can research a topic, analyze that information, develop the initial strategy, draft the content, automate the recurring steps, and monitor the results.
All by themselves.
All by themselves.
Which means the emerging ideal employee looks entirely different. The source material refers to this new ideal as a systems manager or a systems architect.
And the terminology is vital here. A systems architect doesn't just execute a list of tasks. They receive a directed outcome from leadership, and then they build a system to achieve it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they automate whatever portions make sense, improve the workflow, and then move on to the next business problem. The text actually provides a very clear example of this.
Okay, what is it?
Well, in the past, a job description might literally say, produce the weekly newsletter. That is an activity. You sit at your desk, you type the words, you hit send.
Right, and you just do that every Tuesday for 5 years.
Exactly. But the new role definition becomes build and manage a system that grows the newsletter, improves its content based on engagement data, attracts new subscribers, measures performance, and continuously learns.
Man, I love that example, and it really makes it click. It sounds like we're shifting from hiring line cooks who just, chop onions all day
Right.
to hiring head chefs who design the menu, source the ingredients, and manage the entire kitchen's flow. We don't need you just to chop the onions anymore. The machine can prep the vegetables incredibly fast. We need you to run the kitchen.
That analogy holds up perfectly when you look at the mechanics of the transition.
Hmm.
And, an important distinction to make is that this doesn't mean human expertise is dead.
Oh, sure.
You still need to know what good food tastes like to be a head chef. You still need to understand flavor profiles and customer preferences.
Mm.
But that domain expertise must now be paired with process design, technology fluency, and overarching business judgment.
Which is a lot to ask.
It is. So if you are a hiring manager listening to this, you have to stop writing job descriptions that list 5-year-old tasks like updating financial spreadsheets or drafting client correspondence. You have to start defining the ultimate outcome the position owns.
Owning the outcome instead of executing the activity. That is a massive shift in mindset.
Massive.
Like a marketing employee doesn't just run campaigns, they own audience growth. A cybersecurity employee doesn't just monitor software logs, they own the speed and quality of threat identification and response.
And once you define the outcome that way, your entire interview process shifts.
Yeah.
You stop asking, do you know how to use this specific software?
Right.
And you start asking, can you break an ambiguous objective into manageable parts? Can you identify what should be automated versus what absolutely requires human oversight?
Here's where it gets really interesting, I think, but also a bit risky. If AI is doing all the chopping and prepping, so to speak, the data gathering, the initial drafting, the structural formatting, what exactly is the human being paid for? Because it feels like the hard, manual labor of knowledge work is just evaporating. Does this mean human capital is becoming less valuable?
Actually, no, the exact opposite is occurring. The manual labor of knowledge work is evaporating, which means the uniquely human portion of the job is becoming exponentially more valuable.
Wait, really?
Let's look at the data from the World Economic Forum's Future Jobs Report 2025 that the source material highlights. They surveyed over 1,000 employers representing more than 14 million workers globally.
That's a huge sample size.
Unsurprisingly, AI and big data are among the fastest growing skill areas. But alongside that, employers are placing an incredibly high premium on analytical thinking, resilience, leadership, collaboration, and creative problem solving.
Well, because when the AI hallucinates or when the automated system breaks down, the human has to step in, figure out what went wrong, and fix it under pressure without panicking. That takes tremendous resilience and analytical thinking. They don't just want a robot operator, they want a human leader who happens to orchestrate robots.
You've hit on the exact dynamic.
Yep.
Organizations need professionals who can combine AI capability with deep domain expertise and sound decision-making.
Makes sense.
And we see this reflected in the hiring data as well. Lightcast's contribution to the 2026 Stanford AI Index noted that AI skills appeared in 2.5% of all U.S. job postings.
Okay.
That represents a 55% increase in just 1 year. But the truly fascinating data point is that references to agentic AI skills.
Meaning AI that can take actions autonomously without constant human prompting.
Yes, exactly. References to those skills increased by over 280%.
280%. That is staggering. But let me push back here a little bit. When numbers spike like that, people inevitably start trying to game the system.
Oh, always.
Right. So isn't there a massive danger that AI fluency just becomes another meaningless corporate buzzword? Like someone slapping Microsoft Word proficient on their resume back in the 90s when they don't actually know how to use it to solve a complex business problem.
That is one of the most critical watch points identified in the text. AI fluency cannot simply be a vague credential or a bullet point list of applications at the bottom of a resume.
So it's not just listing ChatGPT and Midjourney.
No, not at all. It's not about being an AI engineer or knowing how to code. True AI fluency in this new landscape is defined by the ability to evaluate AI output.
Evaluation.
When the technology handles the repetitive summarization and the initial drafting, the employee has to devote their entire cognitive attention to the final portion of the work. That means focusing on the organizational context, the relationship building, and, quite frankly, good taste.
Good taste. That's an incredible way to frame it. Because an AI can generate 1,000 variations of a sales proposal in 3 seconds, but it doesn't know which one will actually persuade a specific, nuanced human client who has a unique set of fears and priorities.
Building on that, the human tasks that become more valuable are defining the right problem in the first place, challenging flawed assumptions that the AI might take for granted,
Right.
navigating sensitive stakeholder conversations, and recognizing reputational risks. Those are no longer secondary soft skills. As the text explicitly states, they are increasingly the actual work.
Wow.
The more content AI generates, the more valuable critical judgment becomes. A human must still take full responsibility for the final result.
Because an algorithm cannot be held accountable. If the market entry strategy fails and the company loses millions, you can't fire the AI assistant.
Well,
The human who orchestrated the system, reviewed the output, and approved the strategy is the one on the hook.
that's the legal and reputational reality.
Hmm.
Algorithms don't carry liability, humans do. Accountability remains entirely human, which means you need to hire people who possess the judgment necessary to bear that accountability.
Okay, before we dive into how to actually test for this in an interview, I want to take a quick second. If you are enjoying our podcast, please click like and follow our show.
We really appreciate the support.
And remember to tell your friends about our show. Okay, so getting back to it. Recognizing that we need human judgment is the easy part. The actual vulnerability for a company happens in the interview room.
Yes.
If a candidate hands you a flawless strategic roadmap or a perfectly coded software module, how do you mathematically prove they didn't just type a prompt into an AI assistant? How do you actually spot a systems thinker in an interview?
This is the exact dilemma every modern hiring manager is facing right now. Currently, companies are wildly swinging between two extremes. Some try to ban AI completely during the interview process, forcing candidates to write on physical whiteboards because they want to see raw reasoning.
Which seems a bit outdated.
It is. But then other companies allow full use of AI, and they end up getting tricked by candidates who generate polished content quickly but lack any deep understanding of the underlying mechanics.
So they're both failing.
Right. The source material argues that neither extreme is effective, and it recommends a very specific two-stage evaluation.
Oh, I am taking notes on this because it sounds like the blueprint for modern hiring. The source material implies we can't trust the initial output a candidate gives us. So walk me through the mechanics of that first stage. Are we completely stripping them of their tools?
In stage 1, you are testing independent thinking. You give the candidate an unfamiliar, complex business problem and ask them to explain how they would approach it, entirely without AI assistance.
Okay.
The goal here is not to demand a perfect immediate answer or a finished product. The objective is to observe how they structure the problem itself.
Oh, I see.
You want to see what assumptions they identify. What
Mhm.
contextual questions do they ask you? How do they make decisions when the data is incomplete?
This immediately reminds me of high school math class. Stage 1 is showing your work on the paper so the teacher knows you actually understand the underlying formula.
Exactly.
You can't just write down the final number. You have to prove the logic and the sequence of your thoughts.
That parallel works beautifully because if you don't understand the underlying formula, if you don't understand the physics of the business problem, you won't know if the machine's eventual answer makes any sense,
Right.
which leads directly to stage 2, testing AI-assisted performance. Now, you allow the candidate to use approved AI tools to improve their answer from stage 1.
Okay, now they get the tools.
But crucially, you don't just ask for the final polished output. You ask them to show what they changed, what they rejected from the AI suggestions, what facts they verified independently, and most importantly, why.
That is such a smart safeguard. So using the math analogy again, stage 2 is handing you a graphing calculator. See if you can use it to build a bridge that won't collapse. We aren't impressed that the calculator is fast. We want to know if you understand the math well enough to check its work.
Exactly.
Because if a candidate accepts an AI suggestion that fundamentally contradicts the assumptions they laid out in stage 1, you instantly know they aren't steering the ship, they are just a passenger.
What's fascinating here is that this two-stage process effectively separates the adaptable systems thinkers from what the industry is calling prompt regurgitators.
Prompt regurgitators, I love that.
It shows whether the candidate is actively directing and evaluating the work or merely acting as a conduit for AI-generated material. To push this even further, the source material suggests a highly effective practical test, evaluating verification skills.
How does the verification test work in practice?
You provide the candidate with an AI-generated answer to a business problem, but you intentionally ensure that this answer contains subtle errors, weak underlying assumptions, or unsupported conclusions.
Oh, sneaky.
Then you simply ask the candidate to review it, correct it, and explain their edits.
That is brilliant because it is the ultimate test of that good taste and critical judgment we talked about earlier, if they just glance at a beautifully formatted document and say, looks great to me, you immediately know they lack the domain expertise to catch the hallucinations or the logical gaps.
And that is exactly what you're trying to weed out. Hiring managers should never be impressed just because a candidate produces polished content quickly.
Right.
The only question that matters is whether the candidate understands the material deeply enough to stake their professional reputation on it.
So what does this all mean for the broader ecosystem of a company? Because, fixing the interview process solves the immediate hiring need for a specific role. But if we pull the lens back, I start to worry about the long-term organizational risks, particularly regarding entry-level talent.
You're right to worry. This brings us to one of the most pressing long-term risks outlined in the text, the potential collapse of the future talent pipeline.
Because think about the person fresh out of college or someone transitioning into a new industry. Historically, entry-level roles were built almost entirely on research, drafting, data gathering, and frankly, grunt work.
Yeah, a lot of grunt work.
That was the apprenticeship. That was how you learned the business from the ground up by living in the spreadsheets and the foundational documents. But if AI now absorbs all that repetitive preparation and initial drafting, aren't we pulling the ladder up behind us?
It certainly feels that way.
How do junior employees actually learn the underlying formulas if the AI is doing all the beginner tasks?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it forces organizations into a deliberate, structural redesign of onboarding and early career development.
Okay.
The old model was learning by osmosis. You absorbed the strategy by doing the administrative grunt work.
Right.
That model is dead. The new model requires highly intentional training. Research published by the Strata Education Foundation in 2026 is very telling here.
What do they find?
They found that more than 40% of employers are increasing the analytical and strategic responsibilities assigned to entry-level employees while simultaneously reducing their routine administrative work.
So we basically have 22-year-olds fresh out of school being asked to do higher-level strategic thinking much earlier in their careers than any previous generation.
Yes, and Microsoft's 2025 Work Trend Index corroborates this entirely. They found that 83% of surveyed leaders believe AI enables employees to take on complex strategic work earlier in their careers.
Wow.
But, and this is a massive caveat that organizations ignore at their own peril, that opportunity only materializes when those junior employees receive the right training and governance.
Yeah.
You cannot just hand a new grad an enterprise AI tool and say, go be strategic.
Right. You have to actually teach them what strategic looks like in the context of your specific business. But how do you do that safely? If a junior employee is making strategic calls using AI, the risk profile of the company shoots way up.
This is where governance becomes critical. Companies must deliberately create new, structured ways for junior employees to develop foundational knowledge.
Like what?
According to the source material, that means explicit training on data ring fencing, teaching them what proprietary client data can never be fed into an open model.
Oh, that's crucial.
It means teaching them the organization's validation standards and escalation procedures from day one. If the AI flags an anomaly in the financial data, the junior employee needs to know exactly what framework to use to evaluate it and at what point to escalate it to a senior manager.
Makes sense.
They need intense coaching on how to evaluate information, not just how to generate it.
So it's like we have to teach them the showing your work part of the math problem explicitly, step by step, rather than just hoping they figure it out naturally while doing data entry for 2 years.
Furthermore, there is one more critical risk that leadership needs to watch out for, which the text highlights as a common pitfall: confusing efficiency with capacity reduction.
Oh, let's explore that distinction, because usually when a corporate board hears, we've found a more efficient tool, everyone immediately assumes layoffs and downsizing are imminent.
Sadly, yes.
Efficiency usually translates to headcount reduction in the corporate playbook.
And that is the trap of short-term thinking. AI certainly allows a team to accomplish more work with fewer human hours. But that does not automatically dictate that the organization needs fewer people.
Okay.
It often means the organization now has the bandwidth to pursue opportunities that were previously completely beyond its capacity.
So if my marketing team used to spend 40 hours a week just formatting reports, and now AI does that in 1 hour, the answer isn't to fire the marketing team.
No, definitely not.
The answer is to take those 39 newly freed hours and launch the aggressive new market expansion we never had the time to execute. It's not about shrinking the team to do the same amount of work. It's about keeping the team and doing wildly more ambitious work.
This raises an important question about leadership vision. You can serve more customers, analyze much deeper data sets, dramatically improve your quality assurance, and develop bespoke solutions you never had the time for.
Yeah.
As the text emphatically states, the distinction between capacity and efficiency is ultimately a leadership decision, not a technology decision.
That is such an empowering way to look at it. It completely takes the fear out of the equation and replaces it with ambition and growth.
And if we synthesize the ultimate takeaway from all of this source material, from the shifting job descriptions to the two-stage interviews and the new onboarding models, it boils down to one fundamental shift.
What's that?
The core question in hiring is no longer, can this candidate complete a task?
Because the machine can complete the task faster and cheaper.
Exactly. The new, vastly better question is, can this person combine human judgment and artificial intelligence to create an outcome that neither could produce as effectively alone?
I love that.
Organizations that figure out how to answer that question won't just hire faster, they will build resilient teams designed specifically for how the nature of work is actually evolving.
And that brings it right back to you, the listener. Whether you are writing a resume right now to land your next role, or you are writing a job description to hire your next team member, you have to aggressively shift your mindset.
Completely.
Move away from activities and focus entirely on outcomes. Stop thinking about what you simply do on a daily basis and start focusing on what you own. Because if you can own a business outcome and use systems thinking to orchestrate the AI tools to get there, you make yourself completely invaluable to any modern organization.
The future undeniably belongs to the systems architects.
It really does. Which leaves me with one final lingering thought for you to mull over. We've spent this entire deep dive talking about the professional world shifting away from task execution and moving aggressively towards systems thinking, problem framing, and AI orchestration.
Right.
If that is true for the corporate world, how long until our entire education system has to undergo this exact same teardown?
That's a great question.
If a traditional college degree was built over the last century to produce narrow functional experts who excel at specific repetitive tasks, what in the world does a university look like when it has to produce systems architects from day one?
Gonna have to change.
If the destination has changed this radically, the path to get there has to be rebuilt from the ground up. That is something we are all going to have to figure out very soon.
Absolutely.
Today's show was human-inspired and powered with AI assistance.
Thanks for listening.
Be sure to visit us at www.botsandbosses.com.
We'll see you next time.
Remember, the bots are getting smarter, but you're still the boss.
That's a wrap on this episode of the Bots and Bosses podcast. Remember, the bots are getting smarter, but you're still the boss. For now, see you next time.